When the show ended, I came across a trending post. My ex-boyfriend is now successful. Am I a homewrecker if I try to win him back? The comment section was full of mockery. She kept replying, trying to justify herself. We were each other's first love. We only broke up because of circumstances beyond our control. We were together for 7 years. How long has she even been with him? He calls her a suitable partner for marriage. But when he talked about me, he used every word he ever learned. Heard his current girl is some dancer. I don't even need to explain what that means. He's not married. I'm single. He's successful. And I'm in my prime. How is that not perfect timing? In love, as long as both sides consent, there's no such thing as a homewrecker. And then, she confidently posted a picture. A man's hand was placed over her wine glass. Clearly the controlling boyfriend doesn't let girlfriend drink pose, even though his face wasn't shown. I recognized the ring on his finger immediately. I designed it myself, the day we broke up. His friend lashed out at me. If you really love someone, shouldn't you accept their past? I never stopped walking. I can accept he has a past. What I can't accept is that his past still isn't over. Chapter 1. After Santiago and I set the wedding date, I started sharing wedding prep updates on Red Yam. My comment section was usually peaceful. People warning me about bad hotel services in Jiang City, or recommending popular bridal shops, until I shared our wedding rings. Designed them myself. They're not expensive, but they mean a lot. 30 seconds later, a strange comment appeared. She didn't do anything wrong. She just hasn't learned how to let go yet. Weird. I replied with a single question mark. They answered again. Sometimes showing off your happiness is just a form of cruelty. Have you thought about how his ex would feel seeing this? I frowned and clicked on their profile. It was a short yet dramatic romantic memoir. The account was created 3 months ago, documenting a love story that began at 17. I clicked on the latest post. My ex-boyfriend is now successful. Am I a homewrecker if I try to win him back? The comments were brutal, the netizens ruthless, and the ex-boyfriend sounded very familiar. If you're not the homewrecker, then who is? Red Yam is officially unhinged. She's so deep in delusion she should be rescued. What circumstances beyond control? Your ex was broke and you left him, right? If this doesn't count as being a homewrecker, then what does? I must have committed crimes in my past life to be seeing this nonsense on my feed. I put down my phone and grabbed my coat, changing my destination from home to Santiago's dinner spot. It was his rare day off. He told me he had a high school classmate reunion tonight, so he couldn't come see my performance. It was nearly 10 p.m. The restaurant was almost empty. Only 2 private rooms were still occupied. From one of them came bursts of laughter. Santiago finally made it. Stuck to med school longer than any of us. Now doing both clinical work and research, he'll be a deputy director in no time. At Jiangqing's top-tier hospital too, one of the best in the country. He's gonna have insane connections. So, when's the wedding? Then came silence. I held my breath. Are you really getting married? Someone asked. Yeah. Santiago's voice was low and hesitant. To that dancer girl, right? I thought you were just a dancer? A woman's voice, sharp and bitter. I remember you hated those shortcut chasing, artsy types. I leaned against the wall quietly, heart pounding, fingers going numb. Santiago should defend me. Dancing isn't taking shortcuts. There are no shortcuts in this world. I got where I am through talent and grit. But instead, at least she's not someone who gave up halfway. His tone was weird, like he was venting. I didn't know who he was mad at. But I knew he wasn't standing up for me. Santiago, if you're getting married, fine, but do you have to say that to spite me? You know, back then, her voice cracked, on the verge of tears. You're not just trying to hurt me. You're marrying someone else in front of me, on purpose. Chapter 2. Maybe the atmosphere inside the private room had gotten too awkward. Someone stood up and said they needed to use the restroom. I quickly rushed to the sink, pretending to fix my makeup. The 2 people who came out were Santiago's closest high school friends. They didn't seem to recognize me, which made sense. I'd only met them once, back when Santiago formally introduced me to his friends before taking me to meet his parents. And with my heavy stage makeup tonight, It wasn't surprising they didn't recognize me. The two of them lit cigarettes and started chatting. So what's up with Jessica? She really wants to get back with Santiago? Isn't it obvious? Bro, I'm gonna tell you something, but don't go around blabbing. He lowered his voice dramatically and glanced toward the private room like he was smuggling national secrets. Remember a few days before Santiago brought that Amelia girl to meet us? That night, he called me out for drinks. I mean, when's the last time he drank? Ever since med school he's been straight edge. But that night, man, he drank a lot. Said he wanted to go see Jessica. Said he wanted to marry her. Suddenly, I remembered that night. Santiago had shown up at my building reeking of alcohol, holding one of those claw machine duck plushies, probably from some kid who lost it in the neighborhood. God knows how long he spent outside in the snow, clawing away at those ducks until they scattered across the ground. By the time I got the call and ran downstairs, his hands were red and frozen stiff. I wrapped my scarf around him, fussing like I was mad. Why did you drink so much? He looked at me, eyes red. Because I'm happy. I'm going to meet your parents. I froze. The scolding I had prepared got stuck in my throat. Then he leaned in, his warm breath against my ear. Amelia, I'll treat you well. I love you more than anything in this world. I will love you, I promise. From the moment I met Santiago, he was always the rational, restrained, and dependable one. All this time, he had never spoken so directly about love. Because of that one sentence, I lay awake all night in bed, tossing and turning, too giddy to sleep, even though his words didn't quite make sense. What do you mean you'll love me in the future? Thinking back now, it's clear that at the time, he didn't have love to offer at all. That sudden show of affection was just his guilt talking. I've heard so many stories at the dance company about betrayal and being betrayed, some full of righteous fury, others of disbelief. But when it happens to you, when the truth finally lands, there are no tears, just silence, and a feeling like you're about to faint from low blood sugar after hours of dancing. Why? Why couldn't Santiago clean up the mess in his heart before starting something new? Their conversation continued behind me. Then why is he still marrying his girlfriend? Are you stupid? At this age, it's about what's suitable, not just what's romantic. Suitable? Being suitable is more important than being in love. Jessica's stubborn. Santiago had to constantly coax her. Do you think someone in his profession has the emotional bandwidth for that? It's a miracle they didn't break up sooner. What the hell? Suitable over love? Has med school fried his brain? If he doesn't love her, why marry her? It's not that he doesn't love her. First loves are just hard to forget, you know? If he can't forget his first love, then go back to her. Why drag another girl into this mess? Dude, this isn't our business. We're supposed to support, not interfere. They stubbed out their cigarettes and returned to the private room. I stayed behind, rubbing my hands over and over under the running water. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. I look really good tonight. Huh? Why is my face wet? Chapter 3. In a daze, I wandered into a convenience store and sat down randomly. Then I opened the girl's profile, the few posts she had recorded touching moments from their 7-year relationship. There hadn't been much attention until the latest post. I kept scrolling and saw a photo from their high school graduation. Only 2 clear faces remained in that picture. One was Santiago, and the other must have been the girl named Jessica. They got together the day they graduated high school, to give her the best he could afford. Santiago took part-time jobs during every winter and summer break throughout high school. He bought her bed sheets and comforters, clothes, shoes, even underwear. He'd transfer money to her regularly, terrified she might not have enough to spend. He couldn't bear to see her eat takeout or sleep uncovered at night. He would sneak away during his busy school schedule to travel to her city, just to hand her a warm cup of milk tea when class ended. Even if it was pouring rain or freezing cold, Santiago would bike between the hospital and school. Also, he could save up and buy her an expensive necklace for her graduation. Everyone thought they'd walk hand in hand, from school uniforms to wedding attire, always appearing in each other's future. But barely 2 weeks after Jessica graduated, Santiago got the news that she was going abroad. No one can walk away easily from a cliff-edge breakup. Santiago was no exception, but I always believed that no matter how much regret or longing you feel for your past, when someone chooses to be with another person, they should let go of the old one. I never imagined Santiago had simply locked that memory away. And then, 3 months ago, Jessica came back and opened that door again. Santiago had never changed his number. Jessica tried texting him. Santiago, I just passed by our old high school again. I fell down in the exact same spot. Ouch. It hurts. The message vanished into silence. She refused to give up and typed again. I even tore my clothes when I fell. What if I fractured something? Should I see a doctor? Still no response. If you don't reply, I'll sit here and wait until you do. 3 minutes later, a reply came. Go. From that day on, their contact grew more frequent. Santiago, I'm off to work. Heading into surgery. Don't text. Okay. Santiago, did you eat? I'm starving. Recommend something good nearby. Don't know. So cold to me. Fine. Let me starve then. Nameless noodle bar. I was late for my interview again today. I've been overseas too long. I still have jet lag. Hey, I'm really mad now. Even you think I'm hopeless. Didn't mean that. Sometimes Santiago wouldn't respond at all. Sometimes he would reply curtly. But I knew. Deep down, Santiago is far too smart not to know how to block someone. There's no way he didn't understand what Jessica texting him really meant. Unless he was allowing it. Unless he was indulging in it. I stared blankly at the Odin on the table, long gone cold and swollen in its broth. Memories from the past 3 years crashed into me like waves. Did Santiago never really love me? But he clearly mentioned me in the acknowledgments of his PhD dissertation. Some see stars, some see dust. Looking back on all the heart-pounding moments through the years, you still top them all. He would cross half the city after a night shift to pick me up at the airport. Spend his rare days off watching me rehearse dance routines. He introduced me to every relative in his family. Took me to meet his childhood friends. When I sobbed, he held me and comforted me with a smile. When I was quiet and down, he soothed me gently and stayed by my side. That man, even when he was with me, still had someone else in his heart. Maybe love did exist, pure and real, for a moment. But it was only for a moment. The love I thought had filled our 3 years together was only half of it. And now, in places I couldn't see, the missing half of Santiago was slowly piecing itself together. The store door opened and closed. The cold wind that blew in made me feel even more awake. Just as I was debating whether to walk in, slap him hard and demand an explanation, or maybe slap him twice and not let him say a single word, my phone buzzed. A friend isn't feeling well. I have to take her to the hospital. Can't pick you up tonight. Call me when you get home. 3 minutes later, he walked out of that shop, holding a girl who could barely stand. And in that one moment, everything I ever felt for him vanished. Watching their car drive farther and farther away, I slowly descended the steps. Just then, a delivery scooter lost control and rammed into me. I didn't have time to dodge and fell heavily to the ground. My mom always says, when life's unlucky, even drinking water can chip your tooth. I guess that's me now. Chapter 4. I lay on the emergency room bed. The doctor had just finished dressing my wounds. A familiar-looking nurse couldn't help but ask, "Are you Dr. Santiago's girlfriend? I think I've seen you before." I suddenly recalled that time when I was pursuing Santiago. I'd drop by the hospital often with food for him, and I always shared with his colleagues, hoping they'd look after him during his early days at work. I smiled at her without saying a word. Am I still his girlfriend now? Probably not. She adjusted my foredrip. Such bad luck. Dr. Santiago isn't on shift today. Fever and injuries, poor thing. Must be tough. Is he coming later? He won't be. She paused, then nodded in understanding. Right. Dr. Santiago is always so busy with work. You're such a thoughtful girlfriend. It's not easy to be with someone like him. Someone outside called for her. She quickly answered and left, but not before gently reminding me. Amelia, if you need anything, just let me know. I nodded. My phone buzzed. A message popped up on red yam. Happiness kept low-key won't get stolen. Sis is just teaching you how the world works. In her new video, that familiar silhouette stood busy in the kitchen. The warm orange light glowed on his back. Santiago, I don't feel well. Who told you to drink that much? Of course it was you. I forced you to drink? I felt bad after hearing about you. Isn't that your fault too? How old are you now? Still acting like a child who can't take care of herself? Santiago, are you worried about me? Santiago remained turned away from the living room, completely unaware he was being filmed. His voice carried no annoyance, only helpless affection he probably didn't even realize. I closed my eyes, exhausted. Why is it? Why can't people just say no when they don't like someone? Why start a new relationship with someone when you still have someone else in your heart? Why can't they let go, even after it's started? When he looked at me so tenderly, who was he really thinking of? The next morning, Santiago arrived for his ward rounds, wearing his white coat. He followed the senior doctor, visibly tired. So, did they spend the whole night reminiscing about youthful love? Or mourning the years they'd lost apart? Hey Santiago, I heard this one's your girlfriend. Thought you'd swing by last night. My what? Santiago looked up sharply. The moment he saw me, panic flashed across his eyes. It was only then he remembered I hadn't replied to his message last night, and he had lied, saying he was at the hospital. When he never came home, he must have assumed I went straight home after my performance. Amelia, why are you? Your girlfriend had a head injury and a bruised knee. She had a fever when she came in, so we kept her for observation. The doctor gave him a strange look. She's your girlfriend, right? How come you look like you didn't know anything? Yes. I replied sweetly before Santiago could speak. We were even about to get married. But not anymore. Santiago immediately walked over to check my wounds. His movements awkward and stiff. Why didn't you tell me you were hurt? You must have had something urgent. Coming back to the hospital so late. I didn't want to bother you. Amelia, let me explain everything once I'm home. I looked at him calmly. Explain what? That you lied about being at the hospital when you weren't even home? A bunch of us drank too much and stayed over at a friend's place. Didn't want to come back and scare you. I tugged the corner of my mouth into a smile. Nice. His body wash smells great, by the way. And you don't even smell like alcohol. One lie requires more lies to cover it. Watching his figure hurriedly leave the room, I closed my eyes in exhaustion. In my mind, the moment I loved him and the moment I didn't flashed by at the same time. Such a split. Santiago is handsome, gentle, responsible. Even my picky mother couldn't help but praise him. Loving him was effortless. But how strong must a teenage love be, that I can no longer continue this relationship with him? The man who cared for me so dearly had still left a space in his heart for someone else. He's so close, yet no longer feels like mine. Chapter 5. When Santiago walked in, he was holding a large bouquet of flowers and a cake. The moment he saw me, something flickered across his face, a hint of discomfort. Gone in a second. Didn't we agree to wait until I got off work? Why did you come home first? I glanced at the flowers in his hand and said nothing. Santiago walked toward me with the bouquet, wearing that familiar, gentle smile. Congratulations to our Amelia for nailing another performance. He squatted down in front of me, heart aching at the sight of my scraped knee. I was planning to take you out to celebrate, but now I'll have to cook you a few of your favorite dishes instead. I was silent for a moment, then looked up at him suddenly. No need. I feel sick. Santiago froze, concern instantly filling his eyes. What's wrong? Didn't the doctor say your head was fine? Why are you feeling sick? Tell me exactly how. Sick? I suppose it was seeing Jessica's latest post. In the photo was the ballet dress Santiago had carefully picked out for me. Her caption, had a dream of dancing ballet since I was little. Got this beautiful dress. Even if I can't dance, still love just looking at it. Earlier today, one of my troop sisters had even told me that Santiago went out of his way recently to ask which ballet dress suited me best. It must have taken him a lot of effort to find it. Funny, in the end, that effort wasn't for me. I lowered my gaze and let out a quiet, bitter laugh. You're still mad about last night, aren't you? He seemed to suddenly realize it. standing up in mild frustration. Amelia, didn't we agree? No matter what happens, we're supposed to talk to each other right away, not keep it bottled up and make the other guess. You got hurt and didn't call me. Now you're blaming me for not knowing. He stood there, disappointment radiating from his eyes, like I was the one who had done something wrong. The flowers he casually dropped at my feet suddenly tipped over, petals scattering across the floor. I remember you once said you hated getting flowers, said they were the most thoughtless, cliché gift, especially these, clearly leftovers picked through by someone else. Half the petals were crushed, some already falling off. Santiago froze in place, and that cake too. The lady at the store was posting on social media earlier, said it was the last one left. Did you grab it on your way here? Last minute? The living room fell silent. 5 seconds later, Santiago finally spoke, his tone tinged with displeasure. Amelia, I think you know my career will leave me with very little energy for you in the future. I can't always be offering emotional support. And I can't be expected to read your mind every time. If you keep making a fuss like this, then maybe we need to seriously reevaluate this relationship. He sighed softly, like I was pushing him into a corner. I glanced at him once, then turned and calmly began packing my clothes. Amelia, Santiago hadn't expected me to respond so directly with actions to what sounded like a veiled threat. His face darkened, and his tone grew harsher. What is this about? Because I had dinner with some friends? Because I didn't realize you were in the hospital? Or because the gifts I brought weren't up to your standards? I've always known. Most men love to blame arguments on women being unreasonable. But I thought Santiago would be different. Maybe it's his profession. He always seemed so calm, so rational. But no, step on his tail, and he'll still bare his teeth. Are you apologizing? Or just listing the ways I'm supposedly in the wrong? I turned to look at him. It wasn't hard to spot the flicker of panic in his eyes. Santiago, I might seem carefree, not as smart as you, but I'm not so stupid that I can't tell right from wrong, and I won't punish myself just because someone else made a mistake. What do you mean? He finally realized I wasn't just throwing a tantrum. Santiago, I'll ask you one last time. Last night, did you really go to your friend's house? Amelia, answer me. I was unbelievably calm. Yes, or no. Bang. What I got in return was the sound of the door slamming shut. I stood frozen in place. That was someone I had loved with all my heart. He once felt like another version of me. He was a light in my life. But I forgot. On the other side of light is shadow. As the door clicked shut, silent tears rolled down my face. I felt devastated, heartbroken for the version of myself who once loved so fiercely and still didn't get a happy ending. She didn't do anything wrong. Chapter 6. It was the 3rd day since Amelia left. Santiago sat alone in the on-call room, dazed, when he seemed to hear a familiar voice. Doctor, my leg is so important to me. You what? Amelia, red-eyed and teary, had once looked at him and blurted, "You're really handsome. I'm not your doctor. Please wait a little." Back then, he was still a medical student, following his professor during outpatient shifts. No worries. I can wait, as long as I get to look at you while I wait. Santiago had thought he'd met shameless girls before, but never one quite this shameless, even though her face was undeniably beautiful. From that day on, it was like Amelia had installed a tracker on him. Every time she came for a follow-up, she managed to coincidentally run into him. "Student Santiago, we meet again, you know. You look a lot like..." "Like what?" "Like the rest of my life." Amelia tilted her head up, smiling with pure and unfiltered joy. Santiago's face flushed slightly, embarrassed. He looked away. "If you're not in pain anywhere, I am in pain." "Where?" "Right here, because you never reply to my texts. You're so cold to me. It hurts, okay?" And so their contact became more frequent. Her injury was nearly healed. Yet every day she'd find some new problem. She was smart, just a few playful lines and she'd retreat, leaving him wanting more. But sometimes, she would reach out just when Santiago needed someone most, and she always knew when to stay and chat. He still remembered the time a patient had threatened him, even though he'd mentally prepared himself. He still questioned whether he had chosen the right career path. Dr. Santiago, are you upset? Why are you upset? Want some milk tea? How about some cake? There's a hot pot place near the hospital that's amazing. Amelia, what are you trying to say? Huh? I'm cheering you up. My favorite person is Dr. Santiago. Santiago looked at her, a smile tugging at his lips. There's really nothing that great about me. And with that, she lit up like she'd just gotten supercharged. You're smart. You're handsome. You save lives. Once you graduate, you'll be the hottest guy on the dating market. These big sparkling eyes of mine don't lie. How about giving us a shot? So I can show you just how much I like you? Eventually, they did get together. Amelia was like a little sun, radiating energy every single day. Oh no, did Dr. Santiago get scolded again? That just means you're making progress. Every time I got scolded by my teacher, I'd suddenly master that one dance move I kept messing up. Look at me, every inch of me has been criticized. She would show up still in makeup, carrying late-night snacks, pleading with puppy eyes. Please eat this for me. Otherwise, I won't be able to stop myself. She'd also show up out of nowhere with bags of fruit, greeting the nurses sweetly and asking them to take good care of her boyfriend. Santiago knew she didn't know much about the world, but she tried. She just wanted to make his life a little easier. Amelia had accompanied him through the most barren phase of his life. The days with her were never hard. So why had he lied to her without hesitation that day? Santiago rubbed his forehead, trying to reason with himself. Better to avoid trouble. He and Jessica were nothing. And besides, he was about to get married. No need to tell Amelia things that might upset her. Once she cooled off and came back, he would make it up to her, properly. Chapter 7. On the 5th day of our Cold War, Santiago invited his two best friends out for a drink. By the time Jessica arrived, the three of them had already downed quite a bit of alcohol. And how do I know this? Thanks to Jessica's latest post, half threat, half provocation. If his current relationship makes him suffer so much, I'm willing to be the mistress in your eyes. In the video, Santiago was opening yet another bottle of alcohol. Even as the other two tried to stop him, the comment section was baffled. Doctors can just drink like this on workdays now? Why do I feel like I'm the one getting drained every single day? Pretty sure that's my senior. Didn't I hear he was getting married? Did I remember wrong? Thanks for the confirmation. This isn't a clickbait post. It's a genuine mistress drama. This is awful. If I report the post, the girl being cheated on won't see it. But if I don't report it, I might actually die from rage. I don't know who this post is meant for, but I know I'm one of the victims. When Jessica realized the post was blowing up, that people were even starting to dig up Santiago's identity, it was already too late to delete it. What was meant to be a subtle jab aimed solely at me had been picked up by the algorithm and pushed into the public spotlight. With panic setting in, she tried to rewrite the story. This time, I became the other woman. She claimed that after going abroad, she and Santiago were still together in a long-distance relationship, until I squeezed in after one of their fights. She deleted all previous posts and left only a single reply under that video. If you don't know the truth, please stop hurting people. You can insult me, but I won't change my choice. Even if he doesn't choose me in the end, it shouldn't be that scheming girl. Jessica insisted they'd never officially broken up. She portrayed their long-distance relationship as something that had overcome many obstacles until I came along. She emphasized that I harassed Santiago endlessly and loitered at his hospital daily. We all know why expensive cars gather at the entrance of dance academies. No need to spell out the tactics some girls use. Youth and beauty might be her assets, but they don't justify destroying someone else's love. She even implied that I had used connections to get into my dance school. I heard from a friend that she got in through the back door. I wonder which promising girl was pushed out because of her, like she was riding a wave of trending controversies. Jessica managed to press every social hot button in a single post. The comment section exploded. I have a daughter in dance school. I won't even go into how hard it is. Thanks, blogger, for exposing these privileges. We always find some spoiled celestial beings on these posts, and this started as just a mistress drama. This blogger's logic is in shambles. First it's involuntary breakup. Now it's brief Cold War? Pick a version. For a brain fight. You need a brain. This blogger clearly doesn't have one. If you're going to say all this, why not drop names? Scared of a lawsuit? Jessica went radio silent, but she underestimated the internet. Within 3 hours, all my personal info had been dug up and spread online. People even started contacting my former school and current dance troupe, demanding an investigation into my admission. They said, corruption might not be wiped out entirely, but whenever we spot it, we must expose it. You mean her? My high school replied simply, posting an official video showing the entrance standards for that year. In the video, me, 18 years old, questioning whose qualifications. My dance troupe followed up in silence, uploading a video of me winning an Outstanding Performance Award at the Tally Cup. The fire Jessica lit, extinguished before it ever spread. Honestly, if someone at that level still needs connections, this troupe must be full of gods. You need me to explain what the Tally Cup means? She earned that spot. Don't forget the real problem here, this blogger spreading lies. She doesn't get to walk away. And just then, Jessica finally responded. I never said she was a bad dancer. I'm just questioning her character. But no one cared anymore. So easy to ruin someone's reputation now. Huh? And then make them prove they're clean. Your ex is getting a PhD in medicine, and you made him look like a fool. Was he forced into dating? Forced into marrying too? Not sure if the man was forced, but this blogger is definitely forcing me to slap her. Careful! She might delete this post soon. Good thing I took screenshots. Just as expected, the post vanished. A few minutes later, the account itself showed as deactivated. Chapter 8. 2 days later, I posted screenshots on my main feed, ones I had compiled with the help of a lawyer friend. My instinct told me, fight fire with fire. Never let her off the hook. At the same time, the rational part of me began seeking legal action. She had to be held accountable for what she did. In Jessica's earlier posts, the timeline of her breakup and relationship was perfectly clear. There were even QA threads where she admitted trying to win Santiago back as the third party. Those screenshots, originally meant to throw in Santiago's face, ended up becoming key evidence in my defamation case against her. To make the message loud and clear, I placed a copy of the lawsuit in the very first image. The post quickly reached nearly 100,000 views and shares, far surpassing the legal threshold for public defamation, and even led to a severe hit to my personal reputation. I also tagged the private school where Jessica was employed, an elite institution with steep tuition. She was still in her probationary period. Wow, prepping for a wedding and got cheated on? Wait, the person behind this account is that dancer I love? I started my dance prep watching her videos. This is crazy. Fully support her lawsuit. That girl tried to ruin your career. What's the difference between that and attempted murder? This proves even the most amazing girls can still be betrayed. So true. Sometimes it's not about you being good enough. The problem is the other person. Okay. Internet police. Time to act. Does the school want its reputation or this teacher? LMAO. And the other girl tried to flex her teaching credentials like that's something rare. For all we know, our dancer here's already got a public service position. Just as public opinion online began to explode, Santiago showed up at the dance company. In fact, the moment I made the post, my phone began buzzing nonstop. I had already blocked his number, so now he was texting me using someone else's. When he arrived, I was in the middle of rehearsal. I pretended not to see him, even when I had no scenes on stage. I stood silently in the wings, giving him no chance to speak to me. He kept checking his phone, his frown deepening each time. It wasn't until the rehearsal was officially called off for the day that his expression softened slightly. As I walked down from the stage, he rushed to me and whispered, "Amelia, can we talk?" "Talk about what?" I stopped, looking at him calmly. "About how you're rekindling your old flame after all these years. Or how she's been trashing me on social media, and I'm suing her now?" "Amelia!" His voice rose unconsciously. "You're jumping to conclusions. There's nothing between me and her. Those messages, she has depression. I didn't want to be harsh with her, Please take down the post and drop the lawsuit. Do you realize this could ruin someone's entire life? I told you how much I hate online harassment. So you hate online harassment. Yet you let your ex do exactly that to me? And now you want to convince me you had nothing to do with it? I gave a soft, bitter laugh. Besides, why does what you hate have anything to do with me anymore? When two people break up, they should treat each other like they're dead. Who still talks about their ex's preferences like they matter? Take down the post? Drop the lawsuit? Save your breath. What Santiago didn't expect was, 2 days earlier, when I had gone back to the hospital for a checkup, I ran into Jessica. She'd come to confess in tears. I just can't let go of you. I didn't mean for things to go this far. Santiago went from shocked to furious in an instant. How much longer do you plan to torment me? Jessica looked up at him, eyes full of hurt. But you said, on the day you confessed to me, that you hurt the most for me, and now you say such cruel things? In that moment, Santiago fell silent. I don't know what he was thinking, maybe about the old schoolyard. About those precious memories of youth. My original post. It was just to remember what we had. I didn't mean to hurt her, but she stabbed me right where it hurt. Posting about your wedding prep. I just lost it. I didn't mean to ruin her life. You know me, Santiago. I've always been like this. But I swear, I meant no harm. Santiago's face changed from anger to softness, to finally understanding. Jessica saw her chance. She tugged gently at his lab coat. Santiago, this won't hurt her at all. If anything, it's made her more famous. Tell her to just leave it alone, okay? The office fell into silence, long enough that, for a second, I thought Santiago might actually stand up for me. Then I heard him say, okay, just like that. And in that moment, everything he had ever said to me, every word of love, every promise, every supposed certainty, sounded like a cruel joke. Chapter 9. Amelia. I never wanted to break up with you. Our wedding date was already set. Why can't you just trust me? Even if we were just ordinary friends. Out of basic decency, I couldn't just ignore her when she needed help. I'm a doctor. Helping people is my duty. Then why did you buy her a ballet dress? I cut him off. Someone who can't even spell ballet correctly has no business talking about a ballet dream. All Santiago had to do was answer me honestly. Because of a promise. He lowered his gaze. His hoarse voice echoed in the empty rehearsal hall. When we were together, we made a pact. If we couldn't make it to the end, then the one who got married first had to grant the other a wish. That ballet dress Santiago got me that day. It wasn't really meant for me. That was the promise gift. Later that night, while sending Jessica home, she got a bit drunk and brought up their past, and insisted on taking the dress. Amelia, I didn't lie to you. I just wanted to give proper closure to a chapter of my life. In the days you were gone, I thought about everything. Through the hardest years, you were the one who supported me. I won't leave you. I'll never give up on you. You must have unforgettable memories too, right? You'll understand me, won't you? I looked at him. For some reason, my eyes started to sting. He was the first boy I ever truly liked. The first person I chose with conviction. And one day, I accidentally opened a door in his heart, only to find someone else already living there. Then he asked me to understand, to forgive. I blinked away the emotion and said calmly, Santiago, you know that by society's standards, you're considered an exceptional man, so you naturally think I should forgive and understand you. But I think deep down, you're insecure. You keep going back to her because she once abandoned you, and your insecurity tells you she's someone you'll never deserve. But when you chose to be with me, what about me? The man who's going to marry me will always have another woman in his heart. Santiago's face turned pale. His eyes reddened. I didn't know if he was heartbroken over that past love, or over the fact that I was suing his beloved ex. I picked up my bag from the floor. Inside it were the detailed financial records of everything we'd spent on each other over the years. A promise made in the heat of romance shouldn't still count years after a breakup. After all, when people split up, they're always in a rush to split everything else too, down to the last cent. I had printed out everything. Luckily, we owe each other nothing. Just before leaving, I gave him one last reminder. You've been trying to overlook it, but I'll say it clearly. She was the one who tried to destroy my future first. To ruin someone's career is like killing their parents. I wouldn't let anyone off the hook for that. Amelia. Santiago's voice trembled. It was raining hard when I came here. I remembered, back when we had just started dating. I had invited him out for lunch. Just as I got to the bus stop, it started pouring, and my phone had died. Santiago stood in the rain, waiting for me at the corner we agreed on, afraid I wouldn't find him. I knew exactly why he said that now. But was it heavier than the rain the night Jessica returned from abroad? When you waited outside her apartment, Santiago froze on the spot. I think that sentence of mine sealed everything. When Mom came home, I was sitting in front of the computer, numbly deleting photo albums. Each picture held a memory of me and Santiago. She gently touched my head and said softly, "Don't be sad. You know he hasn't let go of his past. If you insist on staying with him, you'll always be afraid. Afraid he might love someone else more. You can't live like that. A healthy relationship lets you sleep peacefully at night, not wake up suddenly, wondering if you're just not good enough. Loving each other is important. But so are trust, loyalty, and unconditional support." I slowly looked up. My mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Chapter 10. The day the verdict came out regarding Jessica's defamation, damaging my reputation and that of my school and dance company, I secured an opportunity to study abroad. Everyone was congratulating me. That girl's really got drive now. Used to be like a wooden fish, tap it once, and you'd get one note. Now she rings loud without even being struck. Yeah, she wasn't even planning to take that spot at first. Good thing she changed her mind. Don't be fooled by her sweet smile when she decides to go all in. She really goes all in. Did you see how hard she trained lately? If she wants to be principal someday, going abroad now to learn more and train with top talent is absolutely the right move. If I were her, I'd be so excited about my future I wouldn't be able to sleep. I dragged my suitcase, a bright smile lighting up my face. 2 years later, the plane landed right on time at Jiang City Airport. I was beginning to make a name for myself in the professional world. The artistic director often described me in major press interviews as a rising star, surely destined to carry the lead, and I couldn't afford any accidents. That's what I told myself. The next time I heard anything about Santiago was during lunch one day, when I bumped into one of his high school classmates. Maybe because he'd seen me on social media a lot. He recognized me instantly. "Santiago, he's not doing well these days. I know what happened between you two. But honestly, he never did anything to betray you. He seemed unhappy with me. If you truly love someone, shouldn't you accept their past?" I didn't stop walking. I can accept that he has a past, but I can't accept that his past isn't over. He was slashed on the hand by one of Jessica's father's creditors. He'll never be able to operate again. Turns out Jessica's father had been drowning in debt for a while. She was originally promised a teaching post at a well-known institution, but after her family fell into ruin, the offer went to someone else. She finally managed to land a job at a private school, only to ruin it herself. Later, her father learned about her relationship with Santiago and, desperate, went around telling creditors that Santiago was their brilliant future son-in-law. When the debt collectors couldn't get their money, they showed up at Santiago's hospital. At first, he didn't take it seriously. He'd had a long, stressful morning of seeing patients. After a brief argument, one of the men pulled out a knife. The hand was ruined. No more surgery, not even minor procedures, because it was a personal dispute and brought negative press to the hospital. His contract was unlikely to be renewed. As for Jessica, her father tried to use her engagement to buy more time, but she refused. She ended up getting involved with a rich second-generation heir, only to find herself as the man's sixth mistress. She got slapped in public by the legal wife at a luxury store. The video's still online. Apparently, the wife's family was powerful enough to crush Jessica without effort. The very next day, Jessica's father was exposed for tax evasion through one of his shell companies. He was immediately taken away. No one in Jiang City ever saw Jessica again. Some said she went to the hospital to look for Santiago, but the hospital told her That doctor no longer works here. Half an hour before our new ballet was set to premiere, I received a call from an unknown number. Hello? No one replied. At the same time, someone next to me shouted, Amelia! That guy who's been chasing after you just bought out all the remaining tickets for the rest of the shows. Can you go talk to him before we end up performing for an empty house? Oh, okay. I answered automatically, still trying to make sense of the silent call. But by the time I came back to myself, the call had already ended. Amelia, you're up next. Coming! I glanced at my phone, tossed it into my bag, and ran toward the stage bathed in spotlights. That was my future, brilliant and shining.